Hi guys, welcome to my movie fan channel. My name's Tyler. Here on the channel we review movies from the perspective of a millennial on the go. If you guys are new to the channel, this is our review of the MCU series, and today's movie review is going to be Avengers Endgame. This is our second last review, and then we'll be all caught up. We got Spider-Man Far From Home also. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you can give me a thumbs up down below. Hit subscribe and the little notification bell. That way you get alerts to when I post a new video. You can also share this video around to all your friends and family on Facebook, Twitter, and all the different social medias. That way you spread the word of the channel. We get some more people in here talking movies. That really helps out. Now, I love Endgame. This movie is the culmination of the entire MCU. All the movies in the franchise led up to this movie. All the characters were built up so well that this movie blew all the doors off my super high expectations and just knocked me on my ass. But it starts off in a really interesting way, also a really sad way, and Hawkeye's family turns to dust. They were dusted from the snap that Thanos carried through with in Infinity War, and that was an interesting way for them to bring him back into the fold, as we know he was kind of sidelined and retired at a certain point in the MCU. I also love the Mr. Fantasy song that opens up with the Marvel logo, and that's an interesting contrast from the bleak Infinity War opening that was rather somber and reflected the tone of that movie, and especially with how it ended up and how this movie ends up. This was a little bit of a more hopeful song to start it up with, and it gets you into it. I also love the story choice that they made to have the Avengers take the fight to Thanos in the beginning of this movie. Right out of the gate, they kind of reassemble and they're like, hell, if we know where Thanos is, let's go get this motherfucker. And they do, man. They roll up on this dude's house, run the fade on this guy who's just trying to like cook dinner on his farm. He thinks he's like done what he had to do and it's over for him. And man, the Avengers come in and spank this guy. Thor cuts his hand off, also cuts his head off, and kills Thanos in the beginning of Endgame. And that is crazy alone. This movie is full of choices like that they made with the story that is like, I can't believe that they did this. Another choice that they made was after they kill Thanos, the story jumps ahead 5 years, which does a lot for the characters that survived, their families, and it creates a different dynamic because Cassie Lang, Scott Lang, Ant-Man's daughter, is 5 years older now, and when he comes out of the quantum realm, she thinks he's been dead, and she's 5 years older. So it's a weird thing that they haven't had a relationship for 5 years because in her time, he's been gone 5 years. For him, it hasn't been. But she's older. Tony Stark has a daughter during this period. So he's like, I don't want to lose this daughter that I have if we reverse the snap. So it's a tough dilemma for him. Another interesting choice in a movie full of crazy interesting choices and super well-written plot is the Hulk choice. And this is one that I didn't like. I am kind of weirded out by it. It's like Hulk was the kind of personality that took the spotlight, that took the light. If you've ever seen Split, you know what I'm talking about. They take the light, and Hulk was the dominant personality, and Banner was pushed to the back, and he didn't even recall what the Hulk was doing during that time. He didn't even know how much time had passed where he wasn't on Earth. So it's interesting, they kind of did a 180 in Infinity War where Banner was out and the Hulk didn't want to come out. And now they're like a merged thing, and they kind of have a throwaway line that is like, we just put the two of them together, and it was like a compromise between Hulk and Banner. I don't know how they did that. I don't know what their plan is for that going forward. I know that there is a Professor Hulk like in the comics. Don't know much about what they did with him storyline wise. I don't know what their plan is, and I'd like to think they have a plan. I trust in the creators behind the MCU that they know what they're doing with this. I don't know where they're going to go with that. And it was working in Endgame for what they wanted to do. His jokes definitely landed, and it was a very funny character. I mean, we love the Hulk, and we love Ruffalo as the Hulk, and at least I do. And it worked great within the confines of this story. Just going forward, I don't know what they're going to do. I know they probably won't do another Hulk movie because of the whole Universal thing, but it was just very strange. I don't know what their plan is to take the character in that direction. It was definitely interesting. I don't know if I'm really for it. The more I watch it, I'm like, that was kind of like, why did they do that? But the jokes that he did make were pretty funny, and all the jokes are funny. Rocket and Iron Man has a lot of one-liners in this. There's just a lot of good jokes, as there is in all the Marvel movies. And like those movies, they provide the levity and a lot of character moments in the story that this movie really needed to break up the monotony of a lot of action, a lot of fight scenes, and it would just kind of be white noise if it weren't for the moments that we get that kind of let you breathe a little bit. But this movie puts our heroes, especially the time traveling aspect of this movie, puts our heroes in an extremely emotionally compromising positions. And going back in time, Cap comes face to face with Peggy, which kind of leads him into the decision he makes at the end, where he's like, I'm going to stay in the past. This is where I belong. I belong with her. This is the life that I want. And that kind of nudges him towards that. Tony Stark also has a conversation with his father when he goes back in time, and that also, I feel, affected his sacrifice that he made at the end to save everyone. And he probably was more motivated to do that when he talked to his dad about his own life, and then thinking about his daughter Morgan and everybody that he could bring back and save if he got rid of Thanos. And Thor sees his mother, who we know is now deceased. That scene is awesome too. She has that great line, like, I see with more than eyes. It's really sad. Thor is one of my favorite characters, so I thought that was a cool moment that they decided to include in this one. And Nebula goes and kills her past self, which is really metaphorical, but it's also takes an emotional toll on her. So it's crazy to see these people, how they deal with these crazy situations that nobody would ever be in. And I like that they do that with the time traveling aspect. There's certain plot holes in that element of this movie, but I overlook it because they gave us a lot of cool fan service moments, like Cap picking up the hammer, and there's just so many things that they wouldn't be able to do. Captain America fighting himself is one of those things that it'd be like, in other movies, if you come in contact with yourself, you would like blow up, or the world would end, or whatever would happen. They warn you, do not come in contact with yourself. This movie, they're just kind of like, whatever, and they have Captain America fight himself, which is crazy, and it's awesome, and I'm glad that they did that. So I'm glad that they foregoed that kind of like time travel rule that we get in a lot of the movies. But I also think it's cool that Thanos catches on to what the Avengers plot is, and he kind of tries to throw a wrench into the time heist when he captures the current day Nebula and switches her out for the 2015 his past Nebula. And she acts as a Trojan horse to kind of bring Thanos back to the present to collect the stones, to collect the Infinity Gauntlet with the stones that the Avengers got through the time heist. So that was really interesting of a plot. I think this movie is really well thought out and laid out, and I like that it pays homage to the other films in the franchise that came before without feeling like it's just like retreading. It felt like a new, exciting story that had an awesome pace to it, despite being 3 hours. Does not feel like it's 3 hours. I could have 3 hours of Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man fighting Thanos at the end like they do. I always compare that to the Duel of the Fates from the Phantom Menace with Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul, where they cut away from that to show the other things going on. And I'm like, man, I could watch just 3 hours of that. Like, stop cutting away from it. I understand why they do, but it's just a super exciting fight, and that fight at the end is great. And it's stamped with Captain America picking up the hammer, or at least calling the hammer to him. And that's awesome, but it's just a precursor to the friggin' third act fight that is just all the Avengers and all the people from Asgard and Wakanda and whatever fighting Thanos' army, which is just insane. It's right out of the comic books. And this movie is a culmination in the MCU, but man, that's just a climactic battle. That's like Return of the King level battle. Like, this was crazy. All the things going on in the scene, you could do like a whole 30-minute video of just every little thing that's going on and the interactions that they have that are real quick on the battlefield. They're funny and interesting and emotional, and they all tie back to like other films and references to other things. So this was great. If you guys liked this review, make sure you give me a thumbs up, like I said in the beginning. Share this video around all your friends and family on Facebook, Twitter, social media. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite part of Avengers Endgame is, and I will give you a like and a little response, and we can talk about the movie down below. I always like doing that, and I'm trying to be pretty active on the comment section and also social media. So if you want to reach out to me on there and comment on some of the posts, and we could talk about movies as we love to do. So that's my review, guys, and I will see you in the next video.